Hello, this is Miranda Darrow, and this is a writing craft book review of Writing the Shadow by Joanna Penn. I'm working on a women's fiction title that's more personal than other fiction I've written and wanted a resource for channeling some of the harder memories and emotions I've kept locked away, very separate from my writing so far. So this month's writing craft book to review is Writing the Shadow by Joanna Penn. I've read and enjoyed other books by this author, including Your Business Plan and How to Write Nonfiction. This title could be used by nonfiction authors, but the real market is novelists trying to capture genuine emotion and feelings and channel that into their characters, plots, and everything, with a focus on interiority and capturing those moments and getting them on the page. This was not an easy writing craft book to read and work through. The book contains exercises, questions, and references to additional resources at the end of each chapter to help the reader dig up their shadow so we can mine it for emotional gold. Those moments when our description of the character's thoughts and feelings ring true to readers, regardless of whether they've experienced something similar to the character, but especially if they have. Penn refers to this as the gold that may be the source of your best creative work in the years ahead. And I'm testing that theory with my current work in progress. As a writer, I've tried for over a decade to write a novel that captures emotions and the public zeitgeist completely enough to attract the attention of an agent and a traditional publisher. Countless query letters later, I'm no closer to that goal, but I have dabbled in self-publishing, which I enjoy, even though I'm learning as I go and have a lot more to learn before it's a commercial success. I've always shied away from writing anything too close to my own experience, though, and never really considered why. One reason is that my mom was one of my beta readers and pretty much read everything for years. I had a bit of a drought, not moving forward on any fiction longer than a short story in the years since she has died, focusing instead on nonfiction about writing craft and other easier topics to write about. I'm starting to write fiction again, and rather than picking up where I left off, I'm mining deeper. I think part of it is the freedom of not having to be concerned that I'll let my mom down if I write a bit darker and more personal. My mom was an awesome person, but she didn't want to talk about the hard things. So much so that her chronic health issues came as a complete surprise to my dad, who lived with her for 57 years, yet he had no clue what was going on. She preferred to focus on the positive, so much so that I never shared with her many of the tougher things I went through in my life. It's not that I didn't think she'd understand, but rather I didn't want to rain on her parade, just like she didn't share the tough things she was going through. I think this is the step that I need to take to bring my writing to the next level, and I'm hoping that this exploration of the shadow is helpful to other writers as well. Here are some highlights from the book and my reflections on these quotes, some of which have been shortened for clarity. So here's Writing the Shadow. First quote, self-development is the journey of a lifetime, a never-ending search for what it means to be human, a curiosity that drives us to learn and grow and change and become more. But self-development doesn't have to be all positive thinking and upbeat affirmations. It can also include an exploration of your darker side, and what you find there may accelerate your growth far more than bullish optimism. Aspects of the shadow can drive our lives without us even realizing, but if we take the time to delve deeper and understand our hidden motivations, we can liberate ourselves and move into a new place in life. I love the term bullish optimism, as that is how my mom faced life, with a success comes in cans, not in cannots attitude. Her advice to choose to be happy every day served me well when I was going through some of the tougher times of my life. But there is a point when positivity can become emotionally stifling, if not toxic. Just like I don't think every writer should feel compelled to write every day, I don't think every writer needs to mine their emotional depths to write compelling fiction. But if you're interested in it, read on. The gift of the shadow may help you overcome creative blocks that have held you back for years, and a greater self-awareness may help you with confidence and self-acceptance. The gold in your shadow may even become the source of your most powerful creative work. Understanding these darker aspects of personality can also give you more empathy for others and give you insight into why people behave in certain ways. The notion that facing these memories and emotions could give me more confidence and self-acceptance was the final factor in my decision to go forward with this work, even though it was emotionally challenging. You know when you're curious about something because your focus fixes on whatever you're interested in. You want to know more, and your mind tunes out other things while you satisfy your curiosity, however long it takes. Curiosity is also driven by intrinsic motivation. You don't need to be paid or bribed into being interested. There's just something about whatever it is that draws you in. As a writer, whatever kindles your curiosity may also spark a lot of ideas for your next creative project. I love this concept of whatever draws you has power. I think about my older son, who has been obsessed with video games since he was 3 years old. 15 years later, he's still more interested in video games than anything else. He will set an alarm to get himself up and ready before a video game design slam jam speedrun contest prompt is announced, when we have to practically pry him out of his bed with a spatula on most other days. This is his currency, what makes him tick. As I was reading this book, I started cataloging what topics keep bringing me back. Looking at my Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu lists, my Libby and Audible accounts, just what topics are my auto buys, which books make it to the top of my TBR pile. I had to sort this pile into what I picked to watch solo versus what I watched with my family, as there is a fair amount of compromise in some of those choices. And some of my trends surprised me. Do an audit of your own movies, TV series, books, and other media of choice and see what trends emerge. As an author, it's easy to get caught up in trends and try to produce what you think readers want rather than following your true inspiration. You may feel pressured to write about certain popular topics or in styles or genres that are currently commercially successful, and to sublimate your curiosity into what others want you to focus on. But when you suppress your authentic interests, your work may feel shallow, derivative, or lack a distinctive author voice. So how can we tap into our curiosity and maybe glimpse the shadow there? Penn has an interesting discussion about whether writing to market is possible to also tap into your shadow while chasing a trend. It is possible that the two could coincide and you could catch lightning in a bottle with an emotionally resonant story that's also perfectly on trend. This area would be far more likely for an indie published author who can write and release their story on their own time frame, as chasing trends in traditional publishing usually means you're 2 years behind by the time the book would come out. Read your existing writing with new eyes. You need some distance from your work in order to do this, and you need to feel emotionally separate from a book to read it with new eyes. But it's possible to see elements of the shadow there. Examine your books of the heart, books written because you were inspired to write them or felt intuitively that they were what you needed to write. It may not be so true with a product written to market, although of course there are traces of the writer in any book. In addition to auditing your voluntary media consumption for trends, Penn recommends reviewing your own past writing. What themes emerge? What issues are trying to peek out, even if you've tried squashing them down? This takes a bit of distance and perspective. So if you try this with writing you've done over a year ago, or you could try working with a critique partner or other writing pals to help identify darker themes that lay hidden in your current work. I have an excellent critique partner who is never afraid to show the shadow side in her writing. She's an inspiration and may be able to help me tap into my shadow as well. This book's goal is to help you write from your heart without fear, to discover new facets deep within you and put your whole self on the page. It's meant to be liberating, but of course, things might come up that are difficult and you will need time to process them. So be careful and look after yourself. You might find a daily practice of journaling, meditation, or walking useful to give your mind time to process. If you feel overwhelmed, back off and give yourself space and time. This is an important reminder to engage in self-care while discovering and examining our own shadow sides. Take the time you need to explore the feelings and emotions raised before you try to bravely keep moving forward, as if the very land underneath our feet hasn't just shifted, either slightly or significantly. Take the time you need to recalibrate. She also discusses content warnings and other ways to protect your readers if you do publish works based on the gold you've mined from your shadow. So be sure to check those resources out too. Just as every person has a shadow, so every family has a shadow, and sometimes it echoes back through generations. It doesn't have to be caused by violence, trauma, or abuse, neglect, or shameful secrets, although, of course, many suffer those things. Even if you've had a happy, safe, and loving childhood, you still have a family shadow, although perhaps it is more difficult to identify. Many Shakespearean tragedies center around the shadow of family. King Lear's desperate need for love from his 3 daughters leads to betrayal and madness. Romeo and Juliet are forced to hide their love from their warring families, which only ends in multiple deaths on both sides. Hamlet seeks revenge for his father's murder by his uncle. Women's fiction authors know what gold mines lie in the secrets and past hurts buried in families. Tread carefully if you're writing memoir, and take steps necessary to protect yourself and your family if your fiction has a family-based inspiration. including changing your characters enough so that they aren't exact copies of real family members, and for sure, giving everyone a fictional name. If someone in your family sees a character who is a complete jerk and then claims it was based on them, make it different enough so you can say, I write fiction. It's interesting that you think that this rather horrible person is based on you. I wonder why that is. And then wander off mysteriously or smugly, depending on your family dynamics, knowing that you have a complete list of differences to prove that you aren't writing about this real person, but instead a fictional character. If we're lucky to live long enough, there are some experiences we will all go through. There's no escaping them, and they will bring both challenges and gifts. Shadow and gold. Much of the writing that resonates with us stems from these places, and our experiences of them can inspire our deepest work. There is much gold to be found in the shadow and many gifts of old age, if we can accept them. The perspective of years and life and the wisdom that comes with experience, the rewards of helping family and friends and enjoying the maturation of relationships, the ability to mentor others and help those on the same path towards new insights, time to spend on personal growth, creative pursuits, and new adventures in the world with a loving partner, friends, or happily alone. The appreciation of small things and the ability to live in the moment. This is good news for geezers like me. Along with years of experience comes years of material to mine our shadow for gold. We're not getting older, we're gaining more material to make our characters more realistic and relatable. A lot of time, we are not okay. We just pretend we are because we have to get on with all the things we have to do to live a functional life and be a responsible human. We avoid engaging with the chaos, the broken side, the repressed shadow. We put a brave face and hide what's really going on. This is a quote from Connie Zewig in The Inner Work of Age that says, "We each have a flaw, a crack, a shadow. We are vessels with imperfections, wounds, and regrets. If we are fortunate, we can even begin to see the gifts of our wounds and the beauty of our cracks, and even in the beauty in the cracks of others. We begin to see how our wounds gave us our uniqueness, how the light shines through them. Part of this process is accepting our cracks and flaws and accepting the shadow in ourselves and others. Even after spending time with this book and my own shadow, there are parts that I'm reluctant to include in my fiction and share with the world. I recently took my older son, a high school senior, on a college visit to 3 colleges in North Dakota. We drove there from central Minnesota, so it was 2 days spent largely in the car, just the two of us, driving through remote areas. Pro tip, if you're driving to Jamestown from Fargo, get gas before you leave Fargo, because there was no place to pull over with a service station for about a 90-mile stretch. Anyway, we talked a lot during this time, just the two of us in the car together, including about some things that I went through as a young adult myself that I've never told him before. I want him to be prepared for the world, and I'm willing to push past my own discomfort to do that. My new mantra is, if I can tell my son, I can tell the world. Now, if I can just manifest that into being, I'll have a lot more material. When you censor your ideas before you have even written them, you are letting fear of judgment, fear of rejection, and fear of backlash from an imaginary audience stop you. Your thoughts are nothing until you put them onto the page, and what emerged in writing is often completely different from what you thought it might be in your head. If you censor yourself before you even get to the blank page, you may never discover the edge or the big undreamed things that Kurt Vonnegut spoke of. You may never find your gold. This was a good reminder that unless you're live blogging, you don't have to publish everything you write. I can write a first draft from my eyes only and decide later whether the gold from my shadow is too terrible to send even to my trusted critique partners. If it is, I can make a new version and leave some of that behind. But what if I did trust my critique partners and they think it adds value? Then I'll have a decision to make. No one will force you to publish something just because you write it down. The success of Colleen Hoover's books is due to her ability to tap into the shadow and portray the incredible complexity of human nature in all its chaos and ugliness and beauty. She is real on the page and in her videos, and her readers love her for it. I don't mean we all must write about abuse or suffering or romance or the other tropes that she taps into. We must be true to our own inner darkness. We can all learn the writing craft techniques and all the marketing tactics, but books with heart and shadow are the ones that readers love. I think Penn hit the nail on the head with this insight on why Hoover's books have found such a following. Our family and friends who love us in our normal life are often the least interested in our books. They are not our ideal readers as much as we think they should be interested. So let them be. Find a supportive community of like-minded weirdos and your creativity will flourish. Oh, hey, other writers, join me in my Facebook group or follow me on social media because I'm always looking for more like-minded weirdos who want to talk about writing and publishing and editing and all those fun things. And finally, I'll end with my favorite quote from the book. Life is short. We must write the books that only we can, the books that matter to us. I'm going to give it a shot and see if it lands. Thanks for reading this book, this writing craft book with me, and join me next month in my Facebook group where we'll tackle yet another writing craft book. If you're interested in joining the group discussion of this writing craft book and the others, join my Facebook group. The link is in the comments. I'll also post a written copy of this review on my website, which is www.mirandadarrow.com, alongside all my other writing craft book reviews posted under the Resources for Writers tab. And for more tips and tricks on writing, editing, and the writing life, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the bell so you get notices of all new content, which I'm posting every week on this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching and happy writing!